time of the year. Okay, and we are.
Just sent it to you.
We're alive! I'll just gabble on. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Pawd Squad with myself, JJ Tao. We have with us, as always, the wonderful KP, our producer, Reha, and Georgie is back with us for a third week in a row. This is very, very awesome. And we'd like to thank you, first of all, for everyone that participated last week. It was actually one of our largest, on my side at least, largest AMAs in terms of views and comments and that. So this is obviously a topic you guys really feel strong about. So we're going to be continuing the conversation today with assisted therapy, which is awesome because this is a topic I'm very unfamiliar with. You hear about it, so I'll be learning something here too. So, ladies, shall we just take it away? And as always, guys, please post your comments in the your comments in the questions, your questions in your questions in the comments. And for everyone else, please carry on, enjoy the show. So let's get straight into the first question, or maybe I was actually going to ask. Thank you, by the way, for KP. By the way, watch your recent video. That was a wonderful video. I love it that you've there's like 3 otters in a row. This is great.
Well, we're gearing up. We're gearing up for Charity Week, so yeah, there's
the 16th.
There's a lot of otter content.
Ooh.
Yeah, October 16th. If it's not already in your calendars.
It's so close. 24 hours.
I know. I'm scared.
Obviously, for the time difference, I want to be there at least to see you when you start, see the middle, and see what you look like at the end.
Oh no, like a before and after.
Yeah, to see the personality change, the facial change, everything. Because yeah, I think you've done a 12-hour stream before, haven't you?
I did one 12-hour stream one time. Yeah.
I did a 5-hour
which hardly
stream.
seems adequate to prepare me for what we're about to do. So
yeah, I think I did a 5-hour stream with Tiny Tuba and we nearly died. It was yeah. So all the best. So people. She's doing 24 hours for charity. Let's all join her and support this, at least for the fact that she's doing this for 24 hours. But digressing, let's get straight onto the show. First question. It's not a beer.
So we covered all of our questions on the previous AMA because I wanted today's segment to be purely on the animal-assisted therapy and the information that Georgie has for us.
Ooh, so This is going to be a presentation type thing.
Well, we will see. I mean, I've made a presentation. It's a little bit scratchy, but we will see how well it works.
No, that's perfect. Gosh, I should have watched that to show that on my side too. But yeah, let's take it away, Georgie.
So I'm going to bring it up on my screen as well. So, animal-assisted therapy. Essentially, it's animal-assisted therapy comes under the umbrella term of animal-assisted intervention. So I've got a little little graph from, I think it's called Pet Partners. It's not a graph, it's a diagram. On the next slide, which
hey guys, no one can hear Georgie on my stream.
Oh, okay.
Can other people hear me?
I mean, I can hear you.
Oh, okay.
I can hear you.
But I don't know why it's not coming through on the stream. Here. Babe, will you hand me my other headphones?
It isn't a stream unless we have some sort of audio problems, folks. This is completely normal.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Completely normal.
I'll just, we'll go back to... Thanks.
Attention to a producer. I have sent a request to your side. Elevator music, everyone. Da, 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 da. We can hear Georgie well on this side. Okay, thank you.
Do we hear Georgie now?
Hello.
All right, we've got JJ. We've got... Yeah, I think that we can hear you now. I think we are good to go.
We are alive. Okay, let's see. People can hear it on this side as well.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you, Georgie. I can hear you at least. My audience can hear you too, so I think we're all good.
Yeah,
Cool.
I think it's good now. Oh, I'll turn them up a little bit, but it's good.
Cool.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, so as I said, we've got animal assisted therapy, which is actually underneath what is an umbrella term of animal assisted interventions. And so that's the umbrella term for all the ways in which animals are purposefully included in an intervention for individuals or for groups, like schools. And within animal assisted interventions, you then have a breakdown of 3 different sort of subcategories, I would say. And within that is animal assisted therapy and animal assisted education and animal assisted activities. So it's a lot of different terms and sort of breakdowns. Animal assisted activities refers more to more informal interventions where there isn't a defined goal or individualization to the intervention. So that means that the people involved in the implementation of the activities with the animal, they should be trained for what they're doing, but they don't need to be licensed professionals.
Okay.
Then you've got animal assisted therapy, which is much more formal and structured. So I'm going to give the definition that's given by Pet Partners because they put it much better than I would. Animal assisted therapy is a goal-oriented, planned, structured, and documented therapeutic intervention directed by health and human service providers as part of their profession. A wide variety of disciplines may incorporate AAP. Possible practitioners could include physicians, occupational therapists, physical therapists, certified therapeutic recreation specialists, nurses, social workers, speech therapists, or mental health professionals. So it's a really broad field, but at the same time, there are certain features that need to be involved for it to be called animal assisted therapy as opposed to animal assisted activities, for instance. And I think you can see, in that little diagram where you've got the different
I'm just going to ask
there.
Georgie if you could send either the link to myself
or
you're going to have to paint a picture for us.
I'll send that to you now. Give me 1 sec.
So would just for layman's terms, would this be in the same sort of category where they use dogs like to cheer people up at hospital, and during therapy they use it as like those Dr. Phil uses the ranch with the horses?
So something like where dogs go to hospitals would be that would go under the animal assisted activities category.
Right.
Yes. Okay.
And that stuff has been scientifically, like, there's evidence that shows that like does cause stress reduction and help for memory care and stuff like that.
There are different studies. I mean, there are so many different studies that it can be difficult to kind of, put it into kind of like one little sort of easy statements, if that makes sense. But yeah, there's a lot of research on things like, how it helps with cognitive impairments, and actually there are ones that if we go a little bit further, there's go into I think it's slide 5. You can see all the different ways that animal assisted interventions are used. So so you've got different sort of capacities in which it's used, there's lots of, sorry, I'm babbling slightly. There's lots of research for it. I say it's different research for different ways in which it's used, and so it's often quite domain specific, if that makes sense. and things like you said, stress reduction. There are actually things as well like physiological changes. So you can actually, there have been research that shows the changes in cortisol levels and oxytocin levels, and heart rate and blood pressure. And interestingly, some research sort of shows that for some populations it increases heart rate and blood pressure, which obviously isn't necessarily what you're going for. But at the same time, if someone, say, needs...
I mean, it could be like that. That can be a sign of like endorphins and stuff like that too, right? Like
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's also a kind of a level of engagement, and it's a level of kind of how your body's actually responding to it. It's almost better than having no response at all. You want something for it to change something, and in all honesty as well, like if your heart rate's up, that means you're excited, and if you're excited,
Right.
you're probably going to be more
Yes.
engaged in something.
Endorphins and all of that jazz.
Exactly. It's not as straightforward as sort of saying, oh, actually, it's meant to be a calming thing and their heart rate went up. Well, in different contexts it might be, but, it could be that someone is having trouble kind of engaging with a subject. Say it's used in schools, or it has been used for children with ADHD, is that whilst it could raise their excitement levels,
Right.
that could also potentially engage them to do more work, say on, I am now just sort of hypothesizing just by myself, this isn't actual research, but it could help them to focus more on, say, if they got given work, say, on, how do we best care for animals, and how do we, just by engaging them a little bit in that may kind of, it's a positive cycle,
Right. Yeah.
There we go. Animal assisted therapy. So to everyone else, there might be a slight delay because now I'm sharing. It's like Twitchception on my side. I'm sharing the Twitch. Let me actually get rid of my face because I'm blocking all the relevant information. So you all can see what Georgie is explaining for better understanding. But as always, guys, if you have any questions about the content, do not be shy. Ask away. It's why we're here.
And again, Georgie, where did the sort of motivation come for? I know we talked about it last stream, but for anybody who wasn't able to join us, what was your sort of like your background and your vision and your like, why did you want to do this type of research?
So my personal interest in it came from actually quite a sad event, not in my life, but in the world. I remember seeing the Sandy Hook shooting in the US, and I had seen an article and some videos where the Lutheran Church had actually brought their, I think it was 9 dogs to the site, and they started but it started bringing the animals into the school and into different areas that the children were in, and found that some children who hadn't spoken full stop for days since it had happened started talking to the dogs and started talking about what had happened, and
right.
And the dogs also served as a bridge for them to talk to their parents or whoever the trained trauma professional was that was with them. It kind of somehow allowed these children to suddenly kind of feel that they could talk about what had happened, and
right.
in a safe space. It was like the past few days, however many days it was, must have been incredibly traumatic.
Yeah.
And of course, a 5-year-old, I mean, no one knows what to do with that. Adults don't know what to do with that, but a 5-year-old really isn't going to know how to deal with that.
Yeah, Libero's
so-
saying here that they brought therapy dogs in after the Boston Marathon bombing, and that helped her personally. But I'm
Wow,
sure a
that's
lot
amazing.
of people. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's that kind of, it can be genuinely life-changing. And I think that's where I was like, oh, okay, that's what I want to do. Like, I want to, I love dogs anyway. I am so in awe of what they can do. And if they're being able to,
And like,
have that
what are you?
impact.
I don't know if this is like getting off a little bit of topic, but since we don't have questions, it's probably gonna be fine. But what do you think it is? Like, there's something like almost just in like innate in us that like when you see a dog or an animal, you're just happier. Like, and there's
Yes.
there's science around that. Like, what is that?
Yeah, I haven't looked into that exactly, but I have seen a couple of things where they've mentioned it. I know that some paper mentioned something called like the Biophilia Phenomenon or something.
Okay.
Let me see if I can find it. But yeah, so there's, and I think that does actually, refer to the idea that we do genuinely have an innate connection to nature. And I think the thing with the biophilia phenomenon, I think, is that it's not specific to dogs. So it's basically any animal, any nature,
Yes.
anything, which would explain, and within that would mean it includes humans because we're animals. So it's tricky to then differentiate, or how does that then apply to dogs specifically?
Yeah,
But
and like
at the
Cafe
same
saying
time-
here.
Sorry,
Go
carry
ahead.
on.
No,
No,
I was
carry
just
on.
gonna say that Cafe saying here too that the dogs really seem to be able to like judge your emotions, and I think that there's something about animals that is just like they're more in tune with like
Yes.
body language and stuff like that. In some ways far more than humans are, like almost better at communicating.
I mean,
I think
know that
we ignore our impulses when we want to care for someone and we place judgment. And I think also with the animal in that, it's unconditional. So it's almost unconditional
Exactly.
care from their side. So I think we return it as unconditional. It's not like, I really like Jane, but she can sometimes be this. You love your
Yeah.
pets no matter what they do, even if they poop on the deck. They're like, oh, how could
But
you do
also,
that?
the
But
pets have unconditional love for you. I mean,
yes,
it's difficult. So actually, that should be noted that pets and animal assisted therapy are different. Animal assisted
Right.
therapy, you don't, it's not your pet. That comes under more like the emotional support animal kind of area. Animal assisted therapy, the animal, I mean, they will be the pet of someone, but
Right.
yes.
it's not that they're the pet
Yeah.
of the person being helped, if that makes sense.
For sure. But there's just something about animals.
Yeah, exactly. And like,
Absolutely, yeah.
I think the thing is that they are non-judgmental. You go up to a dog and you're not kind of worried about what they're thinking about you, and that they're thinking about, oh, what's she wearing, or oh, she said this and that, or she, I don't know. It just doesn't have that same thing as it does when you're interacting with humans.
No, absolutely.
There's
I mean,
so much more attached.
even now, the puppy is up on stream. I'm immediately like, oh my god!
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
without. And to be
And
perfectly
there's like
honest,
very little attached.
if
to
I can,
just...
if I can ask that question, and do people think that it's more of a survey more than an actual thing? Do you consider how the community has been brought together by Joey? Can consider that a type of comfort or therapy? I mean, Joey's not here with us, but we can see how people have
so
bonded
this
with
is
Joey in a way.
Yeah, so this is what.
Oh
one
my
of the
gosh,
things
can you
that actually
imagine
got
if
me-
Joey could come to like hospital visits?
Oh my
Can you imagine?
God. I mean, I would love it, but I feel like you might have a different take on it, KB.
Yeah.
Someone will be like, "Where's my stethoscope? Where did it go?"
Anyway, go ahead, Joji.
No, it's alright. I mean, that's actually one of the things that sort of triggered my interest in researching Joey and doing my research that I did, because I've loved animal-assisted therapy and animal-assisted interventions for such a long time, and the idea and the concept of it.
Yes.
That when I saw that Joey was having those kind of calming effects, and it was so wide-ranging, those effects. I mean, some people did say that that the motivation increased from watching Joey, and that's also been found in in real life animal assisted therapy papers and things, that
and I think
focus and everything.
Focus and motivation is a kind of a, what's the word I'm looking for? Well, just kind of a sign of mental health, I mean, there's
it's
behind like lack
cognitive
of motivation that really,
it's cognitive health, isn't it? It's your ability to kind of function and go about things, and just feel more able to get on with life and more able to sort of deal with whatever challenges are thrown at you. And I think that is also part of, because animal assisted therapy can, say, be used in a psychological therapy kind of context. And I mean, really, that's what I would like to go into, is go into clinical psychology and then incorporate animal assisted therapy into that.
You should, because then we'll have a psychologist as a month on the channel, and we can and we can have an expert opinion whenever we need it.
So I mean, that's really where I was also really fascinated with Joey, because, as I said, he was having those similar effects, but online and from a distance. And also, all of the studies, well, not all of, a lot of the studies done on animal-assisted therapy, you're in contact, you're having physical contact and reciprocal relationships with the animals.
Right.
Whereas, as much as we all desperately want to, we can't go over and pet Joey whenever we want.
Yes.
Or I mean, not that we could pet an animal whenever we wanted either, but it's not the same. We don't have sessions with Joey that we can pet him and he can bark at us. I mean, meep at us. But etc.
And I don't know if you know the answer to this, Georgie, but question in chat here. Is there any record when medically, when medical animal assisted therapy was actually first documented, first used? When did that start to happen?
Yeah, I remember one name that comes up, and I don't know the details of it specifically, is Levinson. I think someone called Boris Levinson, maybe.
Okay.
But I think I remember also seeing reports of Florence Nightingale.
Florence Nightingale, jeez.
I mean, not formally, so it's not in the formal context of, it was AAT and it was, documented and planned and all of that. But in terms of when it was first kind of starting to be recognised that animals were having that beneficial impact on people, I do believe I remember seeing something about Florence Nightingale. I think I've got a paper on the timeline, actually, which I can bring up. Give me 2 seconds. Let me try and find it.
While we watch these puppies completely obliterate each other in such a comical and cute way. And
just watching them is just adorable. This one's just going to town chewing on his own foot.
Yes, and the way he was headbutting the other one's like, aren't you? But side note, I want that octopus plushie that we're seeing on stream at the moment. That would be great.
Yeah.
That's amazing. But I know we're speaking to Georgie, but I mean, just the amount of stories that, I mean, I've seen it on your side, KP. We did something on our side as well, the once on the other channel, about how many people's lives changed when they got introduced to Joey. And it's some real deep and personal stories, which we're glad for everyone for sharing, that you wouldn't think something so small on the other side of the world would make such an impact, yet he has, just for swimming and sleeping and eating. It's...
Yeah, I don't think anybody could have really sort of anticipated that.
Absolutely.
But it's super cool that it happened. And super cool that we're all a part of it, for sure.
And which
I
from
mean,
that
your
is...
TikTok, definitely...
48 million views, the one thing?
I think it's at 58 million, but thank you, yeah.
Sorry, it's going by 10 million over now.
The one.
No, that's the one that made Kunik famous. That one.
Yeah, no, I was thinking your recent one of
No, nobody liked that.
Lauren
That
Williams.
one has barely any views, but that was just done as like a personal touch for. I knew that it didn't appeal to a wide audience. It appealed to exactly how many meepers there are, which it turns out there's like somewhere around like 5,000 dedicated meepers who watch my TikTok.
So I found the paper with the timeline, and say it's just one person's research, but they are citing the historical perspective of human and animal relationships and development of research. I mean, the first thing in there was 12,000 years ago, in terms of there was a human skeleton holding a puppy, found in northern Israel. And then, so it was Boris Levinson in 1962 who used his dog while helping to treat a teenager. And he published his findings. But it looks like as well it had been used in 1942. Patients at a US Army hospital said worked with farm animals and considered the treatment restful. I want to be careful because I don't want to be like plagiarizing this person's work. But so it dates back a long time ago. I mean, even here it's saying in 1790 that it was being used. You know, rabbits and chickens were being used in therapy.
Rabbits and chickens.
Yeah, so
Rabbits,
it's
I can
it's
believe.
a big range of animals that can be used. I think I put that on another one of the slides. Actually, it's let's just see.
Actually, no, I
Slide
doubt chickens, but there is a large amount of people that have chickens as pets, specifically because how amazing they are. I've never had a chicken as a pet, so. But that's believable.
If there's a next slide on from that.
Therapy animals.
I think could be. The one after that. I think has
The one after this one?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Oh, llamas!
Yeah, so I read a paper.
Yes! Okay, llamas, that is
llamas.
awesome.
Look at that, guinea pigs, Reha.
Guinea pigs are almost like just for the sound. I love the sound of guinea pigs. But llamas, week, open the fridge and like, oh, therapy, week, even though they're hungry. But llamas, yes, we have a llama farm that people go visit, and it's specifically just to see the llama. Oh, that makes me happy.
Yeah, I mean, like, it'll depend on how it's used in terms of like a therapeutic perspective.
Yeah, I'm just imagining a llama walking through a hospital all of a sudden. It's the best thought ever.
That would be amazing. I can't imagine like all of the like health and safety risk assessments that would have to.
Right.
But yeah, so I mean, it's such a diverse field, you know, and also some people have fear of dogs, so cats might work, or guinea pigs or rabbits, you know. Mm-hmm. It's you just kind of have to
it's situational, right? Yeah. Like, I mean, you obviously aren't going to bring like a horse into.
Yeah, I can imagine.
You know, a certain situation. So.
Pigs, giant pigs. My gosh, but little ones are cute. I just wanted to ask a question, if you do know things like that, which immediately almost left my brain. But in terms of medical assisted therapy and things like that, I know that from an emotional capacity, but is there any sort of records of like physical improvements when having animal assisted therapy to make them smile versus not? Because I know in some parts they say laughter is the best medicine because it actually has a impact on your healing with endorphins. But has there any been sort of like cases or?
There have been some physiological measures done, you know, in some in lots of papers actually. Like we were saying, you know, some papers cite cortisol being reduced And
wow.
some say oxytocin has gone up. So we were saying heart rate and blood pressure as well before, which has variable results. Some different papers contradict each other and everything.
Yes.
It's there are lots of physiological measures that have been looked at, but at the same time, I saw a paper that I haven't been able to read through fully, and I think it's actually on that slide. Yeah, that someone was looking at how it could be used to help someone with or people with minimal consciousness. And I think, Katie, didn't you have someone message you about something like that with Joey?
What? Sorry. What do you mean by minimal consciousness?
Like coma kind of thing.
Oh no, you're right. Yes. So on Twitter, somebody did message me, saying that they had found Joey sort of before they actually got sick, and they didn't specify exactly what happened, but essentially they ended up in the hospital and in a coma for several weeks, and then they did wake up, and and it was very confusing, and their family was there and stuff like that, but they didn't really recognize them, and the first thing that they remember sort of remembering after the coma and seeing is that somebody started showing them the live stream again, and they recognized it, and they knew that it was Joey, and they knew they knew the otters, and they started to remember that, and it really sort of boosted the the healing process,
Yes.
coming back around and getting the memory back of other non-otter related things. And so it was a really, really cool story that someone shared with me. Yeah.
It is amazing. And I think
amazing.
that's kind of sort of similar, in line really with what some people have been looking at. So I haven't been able to read the full paper, but I know that there have been some researchers looking at that. So there are definitely physical indicators, but also as well as kind of just how we feel, it also comes out in behavioral responses and behavioral indicators, and that would be things like in places where maybe they're helping with autism or developmental disorders, and that's characterized by that sort of things like they operationalize focus and smiling behaviors, think like different behaviors that can be monitored to see.
It's so interesting because some of this stuff is so hard to quantify, right?
Yeah.
Which I feel like is kind of what you're saying. You can you can really think that, and I'm not saying that it doesn't, because I fully believe that it does, but that's what's interesting about these studies is how do you find a way to quantify
the indicators
that these animals have helped at-risk teens.
Yeah.
I'm it's a
exactly.
That's
and
an interesting thing.
Because sometimes you just have to base it on a feeling. It's like you can see the improvement, you can see the happiness, or
right. But my point being
to write down. You can't write it down.
My point being though that you can't have a scientific paper that's based on feeling. So I'm
exactly,
just interested in what sort of markers they're using to
often,
how do they measure it?
Often it would be they'll do treatment measures and post-treatment measures, and they'll say have a particular scale for, say it was depression.
Sure.
There would be a questionnaire, and then you would have the treatment, and you could either do it during or after or both, and then you would get them to do that same questionnaire, same
like
method.
a survey.
Same thing, exactly, and see whether there are any differences in the scores. Or for behaviour, you would before it started, you would maybe, for example, with children with autism or developmental disorders, maybe you would get the parents to fill out certain questionnaires or talk to the parents about frequency of behaviours, and then during the treatment or after the treatment, you would talk to them again and say, have you noticed a reduction in these behaviours? Have you noticed an increase in these behaviours? And sort of find out there what the difference is and try and operationalise it more. But it is really challenging because a lot of the time it does feel like such an internal experience, and how do we explain that, and how do we put it into words that someone else is going to understand? It is difficult, especially if it's with children as well. You then have to see you have to use more observable measures as opposed to which, in all fairness, is probably better in some ways, because then you can see you can actually measure the difference, and you can do it statistically.
Right.
And I think the physical side of it would be a lot easier. I mean, someone pointed out in the chat, thank you for that, and that's a good thing. Horses and ponies are used to rehabilitate moving and neurological issues on younger people.
Yes,
and that's
exactly,
believable because it is not a walk in the park to ride a horse. You got to use your whole body.
Yeah, exactly.
So-
And it activates different muscles. It'll
Yes.
activate different areas of the brain that might need, or it could sort of just help
yes.
those areas of the brain that maybe actually walking's really hard, but being on a
Well,
horse activates similar areas that kind of can train it up a bit.
Well, it also provides motivation, right? You're you're doing
Yes.
something you're not super motivated to go walk a few laps around a track, but if
But you gotta
you're
yes.
if you get to hang out with an animal and
It's
ride a horse, and it
stimulating.
still works those those muscles.
Yeah, they do. It really does. I mean, even without that
Oh my
therapy.
god, that puppy.
Oh, he's on the camera. He's looking at the cameras going down.
Oh god.
But even from the horse side, it's the relationship that young adults develop with their horses. Like I know a few young ladies in that ride horses. They've all seem to come out responsible in some form or fashion. It's like they have this maturity about being compassionate towards something and responsibility, because it takes a lot of effort to clean a horse, to look after it, and it's we don't see that sort of thing, or we don't actually measure that as an indicator, but they are genuinely, the ones I've met at least, are more responsible young adults that have had this sort of upbringing, like look after your horse, you're going to ride your horse every day, you're going to do this every day, and they bond with this animal quite.
Yeah, there's so many things about it.
Yes.
You've got the cute animal factor, the fact that you can touch it.
Yes.
But then yeah, like you said, the responsibility. It's almost like a distraction. Just complete switching of the mind. But
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that's the kind of thing that the studies to help children with or teenagers, the at-risk teens and things like that.
Yes.
It's showing them a different way of behaving and things like that, and that actually that can be, for some people, that can be best
One of the biggest
demonstrated by interacting with the animals. And it's like, oh, actually, well, no, I don't want to be aggressive towards the dog, and then that sort of generalizes into other areas of life, hopefully.
One of the biggest famous examples is Daniela Brugoli, who's become a famous TikTok star and all that, who appeared on Dr. Phil with the horses. As much as she went back to her old personality, she never forgot what she learned at the ranch with the horses, and she had an actual bond with them. And if any sort of success has contributed, she's a lot more responsible. So she's still very much in her personality, but she's definitely more responsible. And I think that played a very big part of it, is the ranch with the horses. Oh, these puppies.
yeah. Okay, sorry, Georgie. As usual, we've gone off on a complete tangent. Okay.
I don't think that's
so-
really a tangent, though. It's all good.
It's pretty closely related.
Oh, look
Yeah,
at
no,
young
definitely.
digits on that list. And by the way, loneliness in older people, we always mock cat ladies, and now we know that that's an actual thing. I think there's purpose behind that.
I will happily become like an old dog lady. Like I'm good with that.
I'd be happily become an old cat lady too.
You're gonna be an old cat lady.
Yes, I'm
Perfect.
just gonna surround myself with cats or bearded
Okay,
dragons.
so then here on this next slide, you're kind of talking about how you could do something like measuring heart rate or measuring blood pressure, even measuring oxytocin and cortisol, and those are things
Yeah.
that you can actually measure.
Yeah.
Which is yeah, kind of what I was asking, and makes a lot of sense because they've done
Blood
these
pressure,
types of
yeah.
studies with animals under human care too, to measure stress levels and things like
Yes.
that. And you know, your cortisol doesn't lie, it can't lie. So
Yeah, exactly. It's a more objective measure,
True.
which does make it, again, a bit more. It's not so much scientific. It's just it is easier to measure a quantifiable difference.
I won't lie, I almost want to put like little receptors on people and even myself when I'm not watching Joey and when I am watching the otters and see if my
Do you know
levels
what?
change. Because I
If I
guarantee there
had-
would be something.
If I had the resources and the ability to like do that, that would be my dream research. Would be like, you know, my capacity with the research I did with Joey was limited by a pandemic and also by the fact that it was just me and everyone was all over the world. Whereas, oh God, if I could, I would have loved to have done a study to see the physiological changes. Yeah, I'd have loved
right.
it.
Yeah.
That would be awesome
It would be
research.
a tricky thing.
Yeah,
to,
it would be somewhat challenging.
Or you could hire
hey,
people.
Mikos, I need some blood samples, like, you know.
Or just
And just be
come
like-
and sit with a blood pressure machine. We're going to show you 7 hours of Logan Paul and then 7 hours of otters, and we'll see how your levels change when you're watching one versus the other.
You could not pay me to watch 7 hours of Logan Paul.
Yeah.
7 minutes. 7 minutes
Yeah.
is bad enough. Maddie says, I have 7 cats now, as many as 11 at one time. What would quantify me or qualify me as a crazy cat lady? I think the craziness comes in other parts. The craziness is start if you're eating with your cats out of their bowl. Then you're a crazy cat lady. But right now, you're just a standard cat lady, I think.
Standard cat lady.
But
I mean,
Kepi,
maybe
yeah.
like I could come to Vancouver and do like actual research with Joey. That would be perfect.
Yeah. Come on over. I'll let you in.
I just need to I need to like talk to the university and be like, can we please? I promise this is real.
I don't know if we jump in the
Well,
gun.
I think you could convince. I mean, it'd be tricky to be like, but I have to go to Vancouver for 3 months. But like, you know, I think you could easily convince them that it's a real research.
Yeah, especially if it's
You
for
know?
a
Yeah.
paper or thesis. I mean, that'll
Yeah.
be some
Yeah.
great work. Your name will be
No,
published.
I mean I'd really love to continue doing research in this area, and I think, I mean I enjoyed it anyway, but Joey has definitely spurred that on immensely.
Right.
I'm gonna ask. Maybe I'm jumping the ground there, and we're talking about assisted animal temperature physiology, and I lightly mentioned it last time. But in terms of animals being used to actually detect illnesses, does this fall in the same category, or is that something completely different?
No, so that would come under a different category. It's tricky because they don't also come under the kind of the service. Well, it does if it's for an individual. If you're talking about dogs who are in, you know, working with people on a day-to-day basis in a lab to detect things like COVID and cancer, that would be different.
Yes.
And I don't know if there is a term yet for it. I know that there's a charity in the UK that specifies about it, that works on it, but I don't know what the actual sort of global term for that would be.
Hey, so go ahead. Sorry, I'm just kidding. I'm getting ahead of myself.
No, I mean, so like, it would be different if you were saying a dog that would help someone if they were having a hypo or hyper and diabetes, then that would be service dog territory. But
Right.
yeah, and actually, there's I think maybe on the next slide or two, I can't remember which one. I did do a little bit on the differences between therapy dogs and service dogs as well.
Okay, yes. So my question too is a little bit I'm interested in this now. This is an interesting category over here, which is the animal assisted education. Can you
Yes.
talk a
Yeah.
little bit about how that works?
So this is one of my favorite things. That is where dogs will go into schools and help children to read or to do some work. It's most commonly used in
What?
reading programs and literacy programs. So I don't mean the dog is like spelling out the words.
Yes. Like Scooby-Doo, no.
Yeah, it's
Right.
more like the dogs will, or animals. I always say dogs because that's sort of the most common form.
Yes.
But the children will sit and read to the dogs. So where
Oh, yes.
you could have where a child might struggle to read to a human being, obviously the human being is still there, but where it's just a human being, there is that fear of judgment and
Right.
Yes,
Okay,
because
yeah.
it's not a
feeling
human
of,
being.
you know,
Yes.
Yeah, there's
the
there's
humans kind of like
inhibitions involved and
pointing out mistakes and
exactly.
things like that, and that might still kind of be there in a gentle way, but it's mostly just the child having a positive experience reading with the dog, and the dog isn't there to point out mistakes. It isn't there to
That unconditional love again. Yes, that
Yeah,
unconditional
Exactly, it's that
connection.
it's
unconditional
barely
regard.
paying attention, as a matter of
Yeah.
fact.
Exactly, it's something called unconditional positive regard, which
Yeah.
is pretty self-explanatory, but you know,
Yes.
those dogs don't care what, unless you're being mean to them, they don't care.
Yes.
Right.
They're just gonna love you and be happy to see you and be happy whatever you're doing. And so it's actually like, I think it's more about getting the children to have those positive experiences reading
And positive
and have it
attention.
be an
Yeah.
enjoyable activity as opposed to something that, and as well, you know, it's that thing of actually if they're a little bit more excited, they might focus a bit more because,
Right.
and it won't have, you know, and that obviously doesn't transfer to all contexts, but if you're, it just means you're a bit more engaged, and if you're a bit more engaged, then you might attribute that reading to something positive. You know, there's a lot, you know, it's the same way that, so there is sort of some psychological theory around, you know, how you attribute friendships, for example, or people that you like or
Yes.
dislike. If you have a negative experience or a positive experience with them, or if they're around when you're having that positive or negative experience, that's going to sway and affect how you view them, how your brain you know, attaches meaning to them.
Right.
Because, you know, I don't
You-
really want to use the trauma perspective
But it's
again, but
important, yeah. It does mean
you know,
something, yeah.
if you were with someone, or it's like people have sights or smells that might trigger that, you know, you still have that attached to your relationships and attached to the
Yes.
people that are there as well. And that can similarly go for positive experiences. So if a child's having numerous positive reading experiences because they've been reading with the dog, then,
Confidence is there, yeah.
you know, your brain's going to make a shortcut that says next time someone says, "Oh, do you want to read?"
Yeah.
Probably more likely. And I say
It-
I don't know the exact science behind it. I'm sort of just hypothesizing, but it is going to kind of trigger a bit more of a, "Oh, yeah, no, that's fun. Let's do that," as opposed
Right.
to it being a chore and it being like a negative thing.
Yeah, changing the dialogue, changing the you know
Yes.
the way your brain perceives something.
Yeah.
Now I wonder, and maybe there has been something like this done, and if not, it would be really interesting to do something like that in the future. To do like long-term studies of
Yeah.
like you know, children who had the you know, the privilege and the you
Pets
know,
as a
the
kid.
ability to have this kind of assistance, and versus those who did not, if that is like
Yeah.
if it makes meaningful long-term impact on lives.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think
Like, in connection with that, if there's ever research, I'd want to see the impact of a child who has a pet growing up with them versus a child that does not, from a psychological perspective, friendship perspective, whether they're more likely to have imaginary friends if they don't have a pet. That's always something that's always wondered to me, like what impact does an animal have on a child growing up with it? Because most of the time you see children, that dog was my best friend over any
Right.
other human. They didn't talk to their
Yeah.
puppets, they talked to their dogs.
Well, and it really feels like people who grow up with animals, I mean, have an added sense of I don't know, responsibility. And
Yes.
this is obviously
Compassion
not
even.
all encompassing, like
Yeah.
not every single one, but it really feels like taking care of an animal and stuff like that can
Like in
really
most, yeah.
help with those types of things.
And I definitely think people that grow up with animals as well is like, I know it sounds a very generic thing, stereotypical, but if someone says I don't like animals versus someone says that does, I immediately almost like align myself to the person who does like animals. Like, okay, you might seem like a more decent person. I think because to me, it represents compassion for something that is, we always deem not as intelligent, but I think they are more intelligent than us in other ways. But there's something about having care for animals and compassion that's, I think you carry that through life. And the responsibility,
Yeah,
as you said.
it's tricky. I mean, I don't know about that area.
Well, yeah, and like my chat's saying right now, that kind of research is so hard to do because
Yes.
you
Can't
like
quantify it again.
yeah,
Yeah,
that and
yeah.
it takes place over such a long period of time that there's no in scientific studies it's really important to
Yes.
have like control groups so that you're
Yeah.
just measuring one factor, and that's impossible to do
Exactly.
in somebody's life, like
Longitudinal studies are so difficult to do, and
yeah.
the rates of dropout are high. The actual kind of ability, if it's so difficult to manage successfully. And you always need a control group and to be able to see those differences. But yeah, I think it would be incredibly interesting. I think it's definitely challenging, though.
Right.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would love to do something like that as well.
Oh my gosh, I mean, because I'd measure that like if I do a survey of people, like put 5 people in front of these puppies at the moment, and if 1 out of 4 people said I don't like the puppies or watching this, I'll be like, okay, there's something wrong with you. I don't know, I think there's a certain also revelation about a person's personality and how they treat animals a lot.
Yeah, well, I mean, there are like to go on like the very far end of that, there are studies that show that serial killers are usually animal abusers to start out with. So I mean, that's, kind of an extreme, but yeah, I mean, I think the way that you treat animals is at least in a small
That's
way
like-
an indicator of your compassion as a whole.
Tangent.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's something else. That's for a different time.
Yeah. But what do we have here on this slide? What's the difference between service and this is the running off the question I asked earlier on. The difference between a service
so there's there are some differences, and I have taken some of these from. I sort of incorporated it from the pet partners, which I'll put a link in once we've finished. So yeah, there are a few key differences, being that therapy animals aren't individualized to one person. They're not trained just to help one person. They are trained to help many people, and they work in different contexts often, and different with different groups of people. It can be as well. So they're still helping a lot of people, but just not in the same individualized way that a service animal would be.
Right.
Often a service animal does the first stage of training to get all of their kind of skills down, but then they end up having a whole kind of training camp with their one person. To accommodate their needs specifically and to get to know them. So it's a much more specific thing.
Okay.
And again, a therapy animal wouldn't be able to get the same rights of access as a service animal. Service animals can and should be able to go with their person wherever that person needs to be, whereas a therapy animal doesn't have that same
Question for
Same
you
thing.
in regards to that, like therapy animals versus service animals. Is there differences in what you look for in the animal? Like as far as when they're making these types of decisions, are there different characteristics that you would look for in a service animal as opposed to a an actual therapy animal?
I don't know. I know that service animals are most often, like, I would say 95%, 90%, are kind of bred to be service animals.
Right.
Whereas I think it's a lot less for therapy animals. I think often therapy animals, in some cases, because it's a lot, for example, in animal assisted activities and education, for example, that's like volunteers going in with their pet dogs who have passed certain criteria, but who haven't necessarily been like trained from 8 weeks old,
Right.
in a
'Cause
intensive
to me, I
program.
would kind of think like when you're thinking of a service animal, what you'd really want is an animal that's like hyper focused and is not distracted
Yes.
by people and stuff like that. Whereas a therapy animal, while you still want that really nice calm, demeanor, like that's still really important. You actually might want an animal that is just going to walk straight up to somebody, be very immediately
Yes.
comfortable, want
That
to be
randomness.
pet, that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Rather than, the service animals really need to be not into neck scratches,
Yes,
like
yeah.
they have to
Don't touch me.
they're interested in their work and that's it.
I think it like depends. I think service animals, they are also allowed to kind of just be dogs and kind of have those kind of wild moments, and also
Right, because you want them to like that's
also,
what people love
you still
about
want them
dogs.
to be a dog because that's why you like them. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
That's where the giggles come in. They approach you and they act silly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
the service animals are a bit more like they're not even they're I mean they are dogs obviously, but they are almost more like machines in some ways, the way that
I
they
guess like
operate and how amazing
they're
they
much
are.
more trained. Well, they're just a lot more like, I think the training is a lot more structured,
focused. And as
a lot
Kevin mentioned,
more
you
like,
don't want them running up to random people while they're trying to assist someone that's short
yeah,
or
exactly.
has no
Well, that's the thing
sights.
is, a
That's
service dog's work and duty is to their person, and so
Yes.
their focus and their attention and their kind of anything that their attention really needs to be focused on what does my person need, and what are they telling me to do. Whereas a therapy dog can be much more
random. I mean,
generalized.
to be honest, if I ended my day and I got to pay a little bit of money to sit with these puppies right now for about like half an hour, my day would immediately improve. They can carry on doing their thing, biting, sliding. Oh, the dog just slid down the slide. They can immediately do that kind of thing. But they can be random. They don't have to.
There's a thing in the UK called like pets yoga, and you can genuinely pay to sit with puppies.
We have like goat yoga and stuff like that.
Goat yoga? Oh, the little baby goats.
It's the best thing ever.
We don't have that.
Not goat yoga, I mean puppy yoga.
I want kittens and rabbits, but goats, they're little small. Oh, yeah, I need to move to America. We have nothing here.
You don't have like lion yoga in South Africa?
Oh, remember we can't do the lion thing. That's very not okay. But puppies and goats, we do have petting zoos, but that's not the same. I want to pay money to go somewhere and sit with a group of baby goats or puppies or kittens or rabbits and just be like, this is my 30 minutes. This is my yoga.
Right.
Like the crouching dogs would literally be the puppies crouching. Oh man. I lack.
Yeah, so it's I think there are a lot of factors, but it's there's a lot of different factors that go into the differences
Well,
in
that's
therapy dogs and service dogs.
super cool.
Yeah. And I
Do
feel we actually have our own pets as therapy without actually even realizing how much.
yeah. I mean, there's something about like when you have like an animal pass away or something like that, and then just how quiet it is in the house. It's awful. Like, you just
Yes.
immediately go, all right, it's time to get another one, you know?
Absolutely. And I mean this as an extension of that. I mean, I love my bearded dragon. She does some really cute things, but even things like that. But I save up my coins just to view your ferrets on stream. Like it sounds weird, but every time you see a ferret, it's like the ferrets, because I think
Yeah, I
it
know.
really helps.
Everybody gets super excited to see the ferrets
I
on
mean,
stream for sure.
like even if she sends videos of her ferrets and we play it at the end of our streams, it's something that animal doesn't even have to be present to offer some sort of emotional relief. It's a
Yeah.
and only animals can do that. It's like
Yeah.
No, but
Awesome.
thank you, Georgie.
So yeah, oh no, you're welcome. I mean, I'm sorry I didn't have as much sort of scientific data you might have wanted, but there's just so much out there. It's so hard to remember it all.
Oh yeah,
and go through it all.
it's more just a discussion, but
yeah.
If I can,
And
yeah.
I'm definitely by no means an expert. I just like it. I'm just interested in it.
and that's how people
So,
become
yeah.
expert with experience. Okay, pieces of paper are just pieces of paper. It's experience that matters. But if I can ask,
Yeah.
is in any way you obviously you can say no? Is there any way the slide going to be available to people, or is it something that
I can do. Yeah, I can do that. I need to make sure all the references are up to date.
Yes.
And I will also, I'll put together like a little slide with some of the different papers that I've been reading, and people can read those as well.
awesome.
And yeah.
My chat is all saying thank you, Georgie.
Oh, thank you. You're welcome.
Yeah, some really.
I think it's
amazing
your
stuff.
calming. You know what? Your accent could be my therapy animal.
Yeah. I'm just going to answer this question because it was very covered. One of the things, can a dog help with substance abuse? And it was in that chart.
It was
or
on
slide.
one of the things, yeah.
That it
I
does
did
help
find a
with
paper
youth
that
with
was
substance
talking
abuse.
about that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
you had
so
like a
I'll
full paper.
include that. I've got an enormous amount of papers, and that's like not even scratched the surface of what's out there. So I'll pick out a kind of a little pack of papers and put that in a link or something.
There's also something about your accent that makes it sound like you are smarter than all of us.
Absolutely. Always English.
Except you're the one with like 10 years experience and like
I know,
2
but
degrees.
I 100% still believe you.
By the way, from my
like,
side,
more than myself.
Georgie is like the intelligent sounding person, and you hear the American accent. That's also the more sophisticated side of things. Like,
I don't think so. I think American accent sounds stupid.
oh no! When I hear you doing the training at the when Puggy was there, and you heard you doing the announcement like, and this is a seal. Da, da, da. In South Africa, it's like, and this is a seal, my bro. And yeah, it's got like R's and flips and things. It sounds so much better. So I got the best of both worlds with the accents. Like I still think Ray should do some sort of voice acting as well. Just saying there, Ray, if you're still there. Exactly, her voice.
People have been suggesting that I do voice work, and I'm just like,
I'd pay you for an advert. I would pay you to do an advert with that voice. The same with KP. It's like all of you can do adverts. Like just got that voice. But no, thank you so much. And
Libero told me to read smut for money.
Hey, there's money in that.
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
you could probably actually do it on Twitch. There you go. You wouldn't even have to show your face on it.
Absolutely,
it would be fine.
But I want to use you for like my voicemail messages. Like for Jason, press 1. For Nance, press 2. I want to do that, but we're digressing a bit here. Thank you so much,
a little
Georgie, for your time. By the way,
very well. Thank you for having me.
Speaking of Raya, I still think Raya's dog is secretly a service dog in his heart. I swear.
He's at least a therapy animal.
Yeah, definitely. He's got all the intelligence and ability to do that. He's an amazing little dog. So maybe if you want to send us a few links on your side, Ray, as well, because people need to know how cute this dog is as well. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But thank you so much. So for the 16th,
Awesome.
just remind it to
Yes.
everyone. 16th.
October 16th, 24-hour stream, so you can tune in at any point in time. You can tune in for the whole 24 hours if you're really crazy. And yeah, we've got a bunch of fun activities planned, and we will also be doing interviews with the board members from the Alaka Alliance for
that's
a
nice.
couple hours of that. So from noon to 2, I think we have it planned. So that'll be on a Saturday, and that way we'll catch they'll catch me when I'm still fresh.
Yes.
And not when I'm getting crazy. So yeah, but yeah, so a lot of fun things planned for that day, and we still have a lot of prep to do, but getting close. Exciting.
Absolutely, it's gonna. And guys, just remember the post will be up on our channels for the next week's episode. Do we know what we're doing for next week's episode?
Yeah, we're gonna talk about the effects of poaching and the fur trade, which is gonna and maybe in some ways that we're also gonna tie that into why reintroduction might be a solution to some of the global climate issues that we're experiencing, and
absolutely,
and why places like the Alaka Alliance could be part of the solution. Absolutely. So gearing up again for that charity stream,
because they're releasing a little otters back into the ocean, which helps the kelp forest. And yeah, I have a strong feelings about the poaching. But thank you so much to my chat. Please stay on board. We're going to give our answer to the Annie riddles. But afterwards, if you're still streaming afterwards, KP, we'll send them all.
Yeah, I'm gonna stream for a little bit. I've got Double's parents are in town, so I don't have too long. But I want to catch up with everybody and stuff. So yeah.
Thank you so much, ladies. It's been a great show. I really appreciate it.
All right.
And also, we'll catch you next week and your next video, KP. Have a good day, ladies.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, everyone. We have our own little thing to do. Oops, let me close that. We don't need to view that. We're going to give the answers to our Annie riddle. And folks, if you want to participate, the links will be provided on Discord. If you're not on our Discord, by the way, let me know as well. If you want us to post it on YouTube as well, if you want to take part. It is a bit of a thing though, because whoops, let me just close everything here, because we are going into our 4th week, which is our last week for the Annie riddles. And what is it going to be is that the person who gets the most right answers is going to be the ultimate Annie riddle answer. But let's take a look at who the winners are. I'm just going to bring it up. Not blue, but bring it up. So, maybe you guys want to quickly participate in chat that didn't want to do it. The riddle was, and we like to first of all thank Tessa. She's come up with all the riddles so far. But this riddle is, I am home on all continents, but love to travel through. No, wait, that's this week's riddle. But let's read this week's riddle first. This week's riddle is going to be, I am home on all continents, but love to travel through. I am small, but I can raise my voice and always bring good news. Who am I? So that's going to be this week's riddle. But let's go back to the previous week's riddle. I need to find what it was, because I don't remember what it actually said. I'm going to sing a song. Just don't mind me being random. Oh, Murphy's Law, everyone. When I need to bring up the riddle, it doesn't pop up. Of course. Because why would it? Woo! No. I had a record of it, sorry folks. But now it's why does my taskbar is deciding to block everything that I need to access the next thing? Do you mind, taskbar? Listen, taskbar. At the bottom of my page, yes, you. Go away. No, go away, taskbar. I don't need you in my life. You do not possess me. You do not own me. Okay, so the third riddle was, I am very hardworking, while others make holidays. I am a team player and I know my road. My world is ruled by a queen. Who am I? Who am I? Let's see if all of you can get the answer inside the chat. And then while you do that rhymed, I'm going to find my responses for this week's riddle. So, what is the answer to the riddle, folks? Do you know what it is? I see. Someone says a bee. Close. They are ruled by a queen. They work very hard. But do they have a road? Do they have a road? That is the question. The Royal Mail. Mr. Porter. Okay. 10 more seconds. Come on. So, ruled by a queen, never takes holiday. Donna Jones said an ant and follows its own role. Okay, congratulations, Donna Jones. Pug Mom says an ant as well. Yes, exactly. The most important hint is road. Is it Mac Employee of the Month? He does take holidays, though. We know this, Maddie. We know that he takes holidays. So the answer to the question is ant. It is an ant because the road never takes time off, works as a team, and follows a road. So the winners, there were only 4 people who got the answer right for this last one. And it is DKM. DKM. Well done to DKM. Congratulations for answering that correct. The second one was Amy K. Congratulations. Very well done. A round of applause. The third person was Glitterberry, aka Miss Alchemist. Congratulations. Well done. You said an ant as well. And the last one was Federmaus or Mouse. Federmaus. But spelled in the German way. M-A-U-S. Federmaus. Well done. You got the answer right. So next week is the last one. I've given you the riddle. Would you like to hear the riddle again? Because I would like to hear the riddle again. I am home on all continents, but love to travel through. I am small, but I can raise my voice and always bring good news. Who am I? So we will post the winners on the Discord, and I hope you participate. And I've got some more good news. Is decided that every Friday we're going to have Jackbox games, but every Saturday that it is my turn to stream, because I alternated between Tiny Tuber, we're going to be having weekend Jackbox games, and we'll be playing the games we don't normally play. But this is for all of you on Saturday that don't generally get a chance to play with us on a Friday because of work. So on Saturday, you can now participate with us. I'm thinking I'm also going to start alternating the Stardew Valleys. Freaky's going to be doing the art stream, but on my side, might alternate Stardew Valleys because it seems a lot of you just love to participate. And we're going to be introducing new games. Yeah, on the 14th, there's going to be new Jackbox games out, and you are going to be the first ones to play with me. I've already pre-ordered it, especially for all of you and for me, because I love those games. So please join us. Right, so if you're still on Twitch, do me the favor, stay on board. Because, I mean, it's not like we can go on Facebook at the moment. Did you hear it's down? Wonderful. Wunderbar. It's just my job. To, on Facebook, we're going to raid a channel. And we know who we're going to raid. Do we know who we're going to raid? We're going to raid. And thank you, by the way, earlier for all of you that actually assisted. Who gave me a subscription. Oh my gosh, you donated so many subscriptions to everyone. But let's go raid the channel. There's 29 viewers, by the way, and it's all split between all my different social media platforms. Oh, by the way, I'm going to be doing a special giveaway as well. We hit 500,000 views on our Taz Talk YouTube channel. 500,000 views. We have now got 1,586 subscribers. Please carry on. 500,000 views thanks to all of you that have been supporting me on this YouTube channel. So we are going to be doing a giveaway to give things. I'm so excited when I saw today, me and Chani Chuba went through the roof. It was an amazing feat. I never thought I'd ever reach that with a little cartoon. So we will be doing something special for you, and we will be announcing it. But let's go raid, people. Let's go raid. And thank you so much for watching me on the stream. As always, put your noses to the screen, because this has been a stream. Let's give you some boo.